Right, gonna start in three, two, one. Go. So, uh, so good evening, the educator and everyone present today. So today, as the opposition, I against the as the middle class parents, this house will support their child choice to they prioritize formal education in favor of pursuing digital creative skill or career. So panels, before we go to our main argument, let me explain the current situation. So right now, if a student does not graduate with a good grade or without a strong education background, it's a very difficult for them actually. In current reality, company and industry still look at the qualification such as the diploma and degree as the first requirement. Without that, many doors are closed. We cannot keep saying that digital creative skill or career are always promising because in fact only a small number of people success in this path while the majority struggle or fail. For example, panels, thousands of young people today try to become influencer, content creator or freelance designer, but only a few reach a long-term financial stability. Most of them eventually have to return to a formal job, which is against the required education qualification. This is proof, panels, that the current status quo, education is still the most reliable and secure foundation for a child's future. Creative skill might help as an additional tool, but it cannot replace the role of formal education in building a stable or sustainable career. So this is our current situation. So panels, let me define what the proposition trying to say. Panels, proposition tell us that prioritizing formal education simply means giving a children a choice, even if they end up only doing a part-time job or skipping higher education. Panels, we define strict selection in school organization as a system where students are filtered through a rigid and competitive recruitment processing, often focusing only on academic score, interview, or popularity, rather than inclusivity and growth. From our perspective, panels, this motion is problematic because school organizations should not be treated as the exclusive club. Instead, they are supposed to be a learning ground for leadership, teamwork, or personal development. Why we oppose strict selection? Our perspective is clear, panels. Maintaining strict selection in school organization is counterproductive. It discourages participation, especially at the time when the reality shows us the student enthusiasm for joining extracurricular activity is already declining. When students are rejecting in the school level, they often lose confidence and interest, thinking they are not good enough. Therefore, for our side, we believe school organizations should focus on developing as many students as possible, not just filtering them. Strict selection may creative inclusive, but it does not create inclusive growth or long-term motivation, which is the actual purpose of education. So, second, the propositions say that good parenting is about providing strict guidance and controlling decision because parents have more experience. But panels, we think this is problematic for two reasons. First, just because parents have more experience doesn't not necessarily means that experience is always applicable to the child's unique context. Time change, panels, opportunities change, and what worked for the parent's life may not be relevant in the current one. For example, a parent's who grow up in a rural community might believe stability means choosing a safe career, but in today's globalized world, children might flourish in areas like technology or creative industry. If parents force out that experience, it risks limiting the child's true potential rather than maximizing it. Second, the proposition assumes that control equals better outcome, but in reality, too much control are often result in rebellion, lack of self-confidence, and inability to make independent decisions later in life. Panels, the purpose of parenting should not be about control, but about support the empowerment, helping children build critical thinking skills so they can make decisions themselves. Without that, children might success for the short term and under parental control, but fail in the long run when they face the real life choice without guidance. So, proposition argued that the job market has shifted into a creative economy where digital demand. Panels, while this is true to some extent, the argument ignored the very important reality to even enter those industry compete with the thousands of other young people still need a credibility, discipline, and qualification that often come from formal education. Big company like Apple or Meta doesn't just look for a raw creativity. They look the individual who can combine the creativity with technical expertise, teamwork, and problem-solving skill, all of which are fostered in structured education. If a child deprioritizes education, how can they build the portfolio, credibility, credibility, and network required to survive in such competitive job market. Without strong academic performance, they might struggle to even get the first step. In Yes panels, there are free resources online, but relying only on self-learning often lead to inconsistently, lack of depth, and no official recommendation. On the other hand, formal education provide that ensure children are not left behind when the competition gets harder. So this is what we explain as the opposition. So let's we move into our main argument as the opposition team. So firstly, creative careers such as being content creator, designer, or influencer are not secure and relevant path for middle class children. Panels. The creative industry is extremely competitive, and only a very small percentage actually success. This career also depends heavily on public opinion. One mistake, one or controversy can easily destroy the person's reputation. And with it, their income did mean the career is fragile, unpredictable, and mostly controlled by trend rather than skill alone. So, panels, for instance, let me take example. Many YouTuber or TikToker who were once viral eventually disappear because algorithm changed or audience lost interest. At the same time, panels, thousands of new creators try to enter the industry, but only the handful manage to sustain themselves. Compare this to people who pursue formal education. Even if they are not famous, they have access to stable and respected professions such as doctor, teacher, or corporate employment. Panels, therefore, as the opposition, we believe this is highly risky and unwise for middle-class parents to support their children, and they prioritize formal education for creative career, because without education is a foundation. So, let me move to our second argument. Creative skill and career are temporary and stable. Panels, creative career, while creative skill may be accessible now, but they are not relevant as the long-term career path. In the next 5 or 10 years, the industry will look completely different with the more automation and AI tools that can edit video, design poster, write script, or even generate music. This makes many creative jobs easily replaceable, meaning children who rely solely on creative career risk losing their relevance very quickly. We can already see that this happening today. Company, even small business, prefer to use free AI tools for designing, content generation, and marketing instead of paying for human creator. For instance, AI platform like Canva, Magic Designer, or GPT are reducing the demand for human freelance. If this trend continues, the creative industry will only becoming more saturated and static. Panels. Therefore, as the opposition, we agree that extremely dangerous for middle class parents to allow their children to prioritize formal education for a creative career. Formal education provides the transferable skill and stable qualification that AI cannot replace. While creative careers are fragile and temporary, compare this, a student with a degree can still adapt and into various professional fields. But a student without degree who only depend on the creative career will struggle once their skills are not longer needed. Panels. So panels at the end of this debate, as we as the opposition have to show the very clear why creative skill a digital career may sound attractive, they are stable, actually risky, and cannot be relied as the main path for children, especially for middle class family who need security certain for the future. So panels, as the opposition, we against this motion. Thank you.